Hello, I am Dana Spinant from the European Commission, working in the Directorate General for Regional Affairs, and I would like to talk to you about the European Structural and Investment Funds. The European Union has a major priority, which is to create more and better jobs and a socially inclusive society. These goals are at the core of the EU's agenda for growth and jobs, and the European Structural and Investment Funds aim to provide support to deliver this strategy. The funds also have specific missions with regards to achieving economic, social and territorial cohesion in the EU and reducing disparities between the levels of development of its various regions. The structural and investment funds make up one of the largest items of the budget of the European Union. In fact, over half of EU funding, which is 453 billion euros, is channeled through these funds, which are jointly managed by the European Commission and the EU countries through so-called shared management. The European Structural and Investment Funds mainly focus on 5 areas, which are research and innovation, digital technologies, supporting the low-carbon economy, sustainable management of natural resources, and support to small businesses. And 5 specific funds are part of these European Structural and Investment Funds. These are the European Regional Development Fund, which aims to strengthen regional economic and social cohesion by investing in growth-enhancing sectors to improve competitiveness and create jobs. It also funds cross-border cooperation projects. The second one is the European Social Fund, which supports employment-related projects throughout Europe and invests in Europe's human capital, its workers, its young people, and all those seeking a job. Specific resources are invested in the Youth Employment Initiative, which was launched to provide support to young people who are not in education, employment, or training, living in regions where youth unemployment is higher than 25%. The third one is the Cohesion Fund, which finances transport and environment projects in countries where the gross national income per inhabitant is less than 90% of the EU average. These are Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, the Czech Republic, Estonia, Greece, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Malta, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, and Slovenia. These 3 funds together constitute the cohesion policy funds. In addition, 2 other funds form part of the structural and investment funds. These are the European Agricultural Fund for Rural Development, which focuses on the particular challenges facing the EU's rural areas, and the European Maritime and Fisheries Fund, which helps fishermen to adopt sustainable fishing practices. It also helps coastal communities to diversify their economies, improving the quality of life along European coasts. Now let's look at how the funds are managed. All the funds are managed by the EU countries and the regions themselves by means of partnership agreements. Each country prepares an agreement in cooperation with the European Commission, setting out how the funds will be used during the whole 7-year financing period from 2014 to 2020. Partnership agreements are then translated into more specific investment programs, channeling the funding to the different regions, which then select projects in policy areas concerned, generally through public calls. The Commission then makes the funding available at the beginning of each year to allow the countries to start investing in projects. The expenditure is certified by the national authorities and is paid out by the Commission. The programs are constantly monitored to make sure that the money is spent according to the rules. This includes on-the-spot audits and checks by the Commission and the Member States. An important question is who benefits from the structural funds? Well, all EU regions benefit from these funds. The level of investment, though, reflects the development needs of the Member States. The poorer the regions or the Member States, the more money they receive. In cohesion policy, regions are split in 3 categories according to their gross domestic product. More developed regions, whose GDP per head is above 90% of the EU average, transition regions with the GDP per head between 75 and 90% of the EU average, and less developed regions whose GDP per head is below 75 of EU average. Depending on this, so on their GDP, the funds provide between 50 and 85% of the total funding of the project. The remaining funding comes from the public sources, from the national or regional level, or from private sources. Potential beneficiaries include enterprises, that is, in particular, small and medium-sized one, public bodies, universities, associations, NGOs, and voluntary organizations, which can all submit proposals for projects to be funded. Like that, hundreds of thousands of projects throughout the EU have benefited from investments through structural funds programs over the years. Some examples of the wide range of projects funded include infrastructure ones, for instance, road, railways, airports, ports, or metros, broadband and ICT development, hospital and health centers, support for small and medium-sized enterprises to increase their competitiveness or to help them innovate and launch new products, or training for job seekers, restoration of city centers and urban development, energy efficiency projects and wastewater plants, investments in clean urban transport, for instance, buses and trams, and many more. Well, I hope this short introduction will help you navigate easier through this chapter, where you will look at the past, present, and future of the structural funds, and more specifically of cohesion policy. You will start discovering the key achievements of the past programming periods in your country, moving then on to the implementation and results of the current 2014-2020 period, and then looking to the projects which are financed in your country and region. And you will be considering the challenges and trends for your regions in the coming years. Finally, in the last unit, you will yourself become actors of change, discovering the many ways in which you can yourself have an impact.